Morena everyone, and welcome back to the Land Information New Zealand office here in Christchurch. I'd like to introduce you to Andrew, who's actually the National Imagery Manager for Land Information New Zealand, which, Andrew, basically means you take care of aerial photos?
Yeah, aerial photos, so photos taken from up above looking straight down, so we're all fairly familiar with those, so yeah.
So we are familiar with them, but how do we use them each day and rely on them in everyday life?
Yep, okay, that's cool. So with the likes of Google, we've all probably seen aerial photos from Google. A lot of applications you go onto now when you look for your house, there's a picture of your house from up above. So they can be used for a multitude of applications, and we'll go into a few of those today. But we thought we'd go over how they're captured maybe.
Okay, so when you say captured, it's taking the actual photos. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's not always easy to get somebody up there with a little camera and go click, click, click. So we'll have a look at the way they're captured. There's three main ways that they're captured. Obviously, we all know this one. Well, we don't. But this is a satellite that goes over the Earth every single day. It just flies around the Earth every day and takes photos every day. That's all it does. It's just a big camera. And that sits about 770 kilometres above the Earth. So that's like taking a photo, if I'm in Christchurch today, it's like taking a photo of Auckland. So it's quite a long way away. Now we get a bit closer, we've got these lovely aeroplanes, and they basically have a camera mounted in the bottom of the aeroplane, and they take a photo straight down. They fly straight lines, come back again, lots of lines. And they take imagery and photos from about 1.5 kilometres above the ground to about 4.5 kilometres. So, you know, that's 15 rugby fields to 45 rugby fields above the ground. So quite cool. And then we get into the stuff that kids love. The UAVs. So these are like the mini planes, and these get put into the air by slingshots, and they basically just like the remote control planes, but just a lot more fancy. And they take photos from about 150 metres above the ground. So that's about 1.5 rugby fields above the ground, yeah. So big difference in terms of how far above the ground they take. These can take very detailed photos. These ones can take detailed, but just not as detailed, because obviously they're a lot further away.
Yeah, and you might want to have a think about when each of these different methods would be used, what kind of image or photo you would want, and which one you would use. So you've captured the photos, you've taken them.
Yep.
Is there a form of processing before you get to see them as nice images like this?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of processing. The taking the photos is generally quite easy. You click, you know, as long as it can be done. But there's a lot of processing that needs to be done to make them usable. So one of the problems, and I've got a little diagram here, just to show you, we talk about orthophoto, and it's a really technical kind of word, but essentially when we take a photo normally, from such a height, there's a bit of perspective. So if you're looking down the side of a building, the building will look like it's leaning out. So when we do an orthophoto, we process it so that no matter what part of the photo you look at, it looks as if we're looking vertically down on whatever's below.
Right.
So that's one thing. Oh, and that one's fell down, but we can sort that out. The other main thing that's involved when we do orthophotos is the Earth's not flat. So some things are actually closer to the plane than others. So I'm just going to use these targets just to show you. And this red target is something at ground level. The blue target is something on top of the hill. And as you can see, the blue target, because it's closer to the camera, actually looks a lot bigger. So what part of the processing is we take everything that's at height and we bring it to an even level. So that's what we're doing here. And now, as you can see, these targets that are the same size appear the same size. So the perspective part of it is to get rid of the leaning, and the scale part, which is making everything look the same size, that is the same size. And we've got an example here of the perspective. Here's a nice picture, and this one's of Auckland. And as you can see, the Sky Tower and the other buildings are leaning because of the way the photo was taken. So that's what we would call, you know, building lean, which isn't good when you're trying to look at stuff under it, because you can't actually see stuff when it leans. And if we move over to this photo, this is imagery that's been ortho-rectified. That's that big long word again. And essentially it means we've taken out all the lean. So as you can see, the Sky Tower just looks like a nice circle, and you can't see the rest of the building, so we're looking at it exactly above.
Great, so these images you can see will be a whole lot more useful in terms of being able to accurately get reference points from them, and that's what we're going to have a look at next.